Gentlemen, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you guys here on this, the 15th, Thursday, the 15th of February, 2024. Thank you for tuning in. We got some big developments happening out there, and don't panic. But you're going to see why I say that in here. This comes from Reuters. The United States has warned allies about Russian space nuclear capabilities, source says. The United States has told Congress that allies in Europe about new intelligence related to Russian nuclear capabilities that could pose an international threat. A source briefed on the matter told Reuters on Wednesday. The new capabilities related to Russian attempts to develop space-based weapons do not pose an urgent threat to the United States, the source says. The intelligence came to light after Representative Mike Turner, Republican chair of the U.S. House of Representatives, the Intelligence Committee, issued an unusual and cryptic statement on Wednesday warning of a serious national security threat. So yesterday, they warned of a serious national security threat to the United States. But they didn't elaborate an awful lot. It says sources said the warning was related to Russian capabilities in space related to satellites. One of the sources said that the issue is serious, but not related to active capabilities, nor should it be a cause for panic. Whenever the government mentions that word panic, you have to examine what's going on. First off, they're not telling us what this security threat is. It's linked to Russian capabilities in space. That's what we know. But we're not telling us what in the heck it is. They're not telling us. But at the same time, if they know what it is, and they're saying that it should not be a cause for panic, well, we don't know what it is. So panic never crossed our mind. But whatever it is, they use the word panic. That alone puts... I'm not panicking, but that alone puts my blood pressure up a little bit. My heart rate goes up a little bit when I see that. The fact that they know that this is evidently what I'm thinking. I don't know if this is true or not, but what I'm thinking is, if they put the word in cause for panic in there, in other words, it should not be a cause for panic, I know that this must be pretty serious. They know what it is. I don't know what it is. Could be just about anything. It could be as provocative as what happened back during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when Russia was stationing nuclear warheads in Cuba, aimed at the United States, which would have gave them a strategic advantage. And that was a cause for panic. And that's what caused the Cuban Missile Crisis. So I can only assume that this could be something. It says that this warning was related to Russian capabilities in space. And it poses, quote unquote here, a serious national security threat. Okay? First thing that goes through my mind is the Cuban Missile Crisis and a strategic nuclear advantage. That's the first thing that goes through my mind. Now let's read on. I am requesting that President Biden declassify all information relating to this threat so that Congress and the administration and our allies can openly discuss the actions necessary to respond to this threat, Turner said in a statement, providing no further information. So they're not telling us what the threat is, but we do know it's something related to Russian capabilities in space. It's a very serious issue, people. Let's read on. Citing a current former U.S. official, New York Times reported earlier that the news intelligence was related to Russia's attempt to develop a space-based anti-satellite nuclear weapon. ABC News reported earlier that the intelligence has to do with such a capability currently, and former officials said that the nuclear weapon was not in orbit. Turner's statement was released in the midst of debate in Congress over how the United States should be dealing with global threats from Russia and other rivals, with security hawks urging greater global involvement. They're not giving any further information on what this is, other than saying it's a serious national security threat. And we read here that they're requesting that President Biden declassify all information relating to this threat so that Congress and administration, our allies, can openly discuss actions, they use the word the actions necessary to respond to this threat. That's what another thing that really gets me worried about this is what they said here. They're going to discuss the actions necessary to respond to this threat. What would those actions be? Would they be military actions? Just asking a question here. And could those military actions... Well, let's not put the cart ahead of the horse yet. But that too, when they tell me not to panic, don't panic. Okay, I won't panic, but that doesn't stop my heart rate from going up a little bit. And when they discuss these actions necessary to respond to this threat, the first thing that goes through my mind is Cuban Missile Crisis. I start thinking back about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Russia backed down during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I think it was Khrushchev, wasn't it? Russian leader back then. And it was Kennedy in the United States, and they backed down. But I don't know, to resolve a crisis, I'll tell you, I know this much. Any sort of a crisis, one side or the other needs to back down away from the issue, or there's going to be sparks flying. Anyway, guys, so let's learn a little bit more about this, because this is a serious issue. It says the Kremlin tries to shoot down claims it is putting nuclear weapons in space. Putin's top spokesman accused Biden of playing a trick to get more money for Ukraine. Washington believes Russia is advancing plans to deploy a space-based nuclear weapon. Kremlin claimed it was malicious fabrication. So there's a big thing going on right now between the Kremlin and the United States. There's a thing going on. Kremlin's responding to it right now. The Kremlin is claiming that it was... And by the way, if you don't know who the Kremlin is, it's Russia. It's like saying Washington if you're talking about the United States. Washington says, the Kremlin says. It's a Russia equivalent of that. Kremlin claimed it was malicious fabrication. The whole thing's a fabrication, according to the Kremlin. And the Kremlin has shot down claims it wants to put down a nuclear weapon in space, and claims it is a trick by the U.S. to get more money for weapons in Ukraine. That's what they're saying. Moscow claimed the ominous warning that Vladimir Putin wants to take out satellites as a malicious fabrication, but wouldn't go into details about any plan. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said he would not comment on the substance of the reports until the details were unveiled by the White House. But he said Washington warned it was clearly an attempt to get Congress to approve, and that's according to them, Myself, you're going to find that news on both sides, especially concerns war. In wartime, I never knew this. I'm just starting to really learn it now. In wartime, propaganda on both sides goes up exponentially. That's what I've learned. That's my own viewpoint on it during wartime. And information is concealed. Because back in World War II, they used to have a saying, loose lips sink ships. That was what they said back in World War II. And everybody starts to be really tight on information. And what information you get is hard to... It's very... War makes everything difficult. in so many ways. Anyway, moving on to a different story here. The quality of new cars is declining. These brands are currently the least problematic. But what I was looking at here is the malfunctions that they're having in these new cars. It says they only last a very short period of time. In other words, you get them from the dealer, brand spanking new, and for say the first 50,000 miles ain't bad, but after that, look out. It's almost like they're making the cars so that they're disposable. And they're trying to do that in the electronics inside the car. To make it so expensive, you can't, unless you take it to a dealer, you can't get it fixed because they have to reset all these modules with computers that you don't have. So you can't work on your cars yourself. They're making them that way now. They're making them so that all these luxury features are all connected to computers and stuff, and all the features that make the car run, like there's no cable anymore that runs from your gas pedal to the engine. There's a sensor, and the sensor relays information to another sensor through a computer to make the throttle work. Everything. So your car's not even going to run unless the computer system's running. All these computer systems are vulnerable to EMP attack, among other things. But not only that, as soon as it starts, they've done all this research into these cars. I'm telling you, they have got factories set up so that they can research how long each one of these parts last inside a car. It's called planned obsolescence. And they're designing these cars so they're just going to get past the warranty, and then boom. So what does it say here? It says the results of the research in examining problems and malfunctions experienced within 3 years of purchase usually correlate with those found in the initial quality study, which analyzes the same model years when they are brand new within the first 90 days of use. However, this time customer satisfaction with their vehicle has measurably worsened over 30 months, while 2023 user reports an average of 190 malfunctions per 100 cars. Well, that's about 2 malfunctions per car. And we're talking about almost new cars here. And what this article's talking about is basically that they're not building them like they used to. It says the quality of new cars is declining and declining fast. And this has all got to do with planned obsolescence. So when you buy your brand new car, you think you're getting a great deal by buying a new car. Well, yeah, it's going to run for the first 50,000 miles, probably okay. But then you're going to run into these problems that are going to come along when it gets up around 100,000 miles, where the car is going to cost more to repair than what it's worth. Where the older cars didn't go through all these headaches, but they're doing this on purpose. This planned obsolescence is designed on purpose to keep you always having to lease a new car or buy a new car. And so I see a time coming, where people got their older cars and they're not going to let go of them, because they know what they're in for to buy a newer model up when they start buying anything up above, say, the year 2020 or newer cars. Say we get to the year 2028. By that time, they'll probably have this so well implemented, and all these older cars will be pretty much gone, and you'll have to have a car that's just going to be driving along on the freeway, and all of a sudden the car dies. You have to have it towed in, and they tell you got to take this thing to the dealership. They got to reset all your modules with a computer. And how much is that going to cost? Oh, $3,000. How long does it take? 2 hours. I mean, this is the kind of... They're the devil in disguise, these car manufacturers. And they know exactly what they're doing. So, we talked about the U.S. securities threat. Now we're going to start to take a look at the markets and see what's going on with the metals. Silver has went up. It's up 49 cents at $22.81. getting up near the $23 mark again. That was a good little buying opportunity for silver there, like yesterday. It was almost down to 21 something. Of course, this is the spot paper price, you know. And so, what's the real price of the metal? Well, all-in mining production costs right now, probably excluding research and development and exploration and all that kind of stuff, all those goodies, probably excluding that. Probably around, depends on the mine, probably $15-20 by the time they get it to where you were going to buy it in coin form or in bar form. And so there's not an awful lot of profit margin. What else can you buy out there that it comes that close to cost to what you're paying on anything you buy out there? You know, an awful lot of things, like when you go to the hardware store and you want to buy a hinge, their cost is less than half. A hardware store, if you're going to buy that hinge for, say, $9.50, the hardware store only probably paid $3.95 for it. You know? So there's quite a large profit margin there. But there's no real big profit margin here, and this is why the price has a good floor underneath it. I tell you guys, you're getting a lot of value for your money when you buy the silver right now. You know? It has a lot of... Did you know they probably have to haul out of the ground about 400 pounds of ore that are rocks, big rocks? They have to crush them basically into a powder, 400 pounds of rocks into a powder to get that ounce of silver. Well, I don't know. I think it's like 6 or 7 ounces they're getting now out of a ton. And I think a ton's like 2,200 pounds, a metric ton. I think it's like 2,200 pounds. And so you divide that up into maybe 6 or 7 ounces that they're going to get. You know, probably maybe 400 pounds or something. That's a lot of rock. If you put 400 pounds of rock in your yard and you start hitting it with a sledgehammer to pound it into powder, think of the energy that would take. Take you days, weeks, of pounding and pounding and pounding. Think of all the food you'd have to eat in order to have that much energy. Well, I'll take a machine and do it. Okay, still you got hydraulics and you got the big engine, diesel engine has to run to crush that into powder. But that's not all. That's just a start. Then they got to put it in big slurry vats and stuff and separate the silver from with chemicals and stuff like that. Those chemicals are expensive. And the slurry vats take energy. And then once they get it extracted, then they got to use heat to melt it down into a dory bar. And there's where your cost is. Every step of the process. You know? I remember when this is a few years ago, because I've been researching this for years, back about when my channel started. It was like $5, $6, $7 to do all that, to get the silver. And plus, they were getting like 13 ounces from a ton instead of like 7 or something there is now. They're getting a lot more out of each ton, because they mined all that good stuff now. And so their cost was cheaper because they're getting more silver per ton. You know, and some of the mines were like $5 all in production cost. But what was the price back then? $40 an ounce? Now the price is half. The price has been cut in half. And the mining cost has went up by double or more. Double and even triple the mining cost because of inflation. So, man, you're getting good value on this stuff. Take a look at gold today, $19,999.20. Oh, boy, it's almost $2,000 again. It's up $7.30. Taking a look at crypto today. Now, Bitcoin is at 52,364, so it's going up right now. It's heading for $60,000 again. Ethereum is at 2841. Might have a little drawdown on Bitcoin when it gets up, starts to approach its old high. It might drop a little bit. You know, so I mean, it could go 52,000 right now. Maybe it'll go up to 65 or something, and then drop back down to the 50s again on its march up. That would be typical market action, you know. And then break through. Each time it breaks through, Like if it breaks through into a new high, say it breaks 68,000 and it goes up to 70,000 this time, then we might get a drop before it continues on its march upwards. And it wouldn't surprise me to see it go over 100,000 on this what it's doing right now. It wouldn't surprise me any. Ethereum is at 2841. And, you know, I mean, the opposite of that is true. If we get some sort of a market crash or something, because this is a speculative asset class, what could happen is if we get a market drop, if we get margin calls or anything like that come along, people could sell this asset class off to pay off their margin calls and stuff, and it could see a substantial price drop. This is a very dangerous period in investments right now. This is why I point out silver to you guys, because of its floor it has under it, where they can't drop it below mining production cost. And then we got to think about, too, you know, with silver, what's Mexico going to do? Remember, that shows I did the last couple days. Dow Jones Industrial Average today is up 180 points, 38,604 for the Dow, and the crude oil is at 77.90. It's up $1.28. So crude oil's getting up near $80. Bonds and rates right now, we're looking at falling yields on the long end. U.S. 10 years fell 1.7 basis points, and the U.S. 30 years fell, what was it, 2 basis points? 4.42 on the U.S. 30 year and 4.24 on the U.S. 10 year. And taking a look at the dollar index today, 104.45 on the dollar index. And the dollar is dropping today, but not a lot. It's dropping a little bit. It's dropped 28% it's dropped 0.26% today at 104.45. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up like button. Did you hit it? Hit the like button, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. And have a great day. Bye-bye.